Welcome back. Continuing on the discussion of transit systems, if the Democrats win this election, what do you hope that they will do?
Well, Democrats or enough thoughtful Republicans, because in point of fact, when I was on the Amtrak board, we were developing a bipartisan coalition in the Congress. This is one area where we had a substantial number of Republicans, one of whom is now the Secretary of Transportation. Ray LaHood was one of these pro-rail, pro-transit Republicans, and he's become a very good Secretary of Transportation. So we had a broad bipartisan majority supporting major national investment in better, higher speed rail. Lately, especially in some of these governor's races, the Republican candidates are in effect saying, we're not interested in rail. Now, don't ask me where they're coming from. I don't see how you can be out on a highway at 5 o'clock in the afternoon in the United States of America in any metropolitan area and not conclude that we desperately need better public transportation and desperately need a first-class national rail passenger system. So I hope we can maintain that, and fortunately we have the first president in my lifetime who is serious about investing heavily in that kind of a system. I mean, Barack Obama has been in a class by himself, and by the way, the vice president, as you know, is also a huge fan and was a regular rider of Amtrak when he was in the United States Senate from Delaware. So I hope we can keep this going because, you know, the rest of the world is putting us in their rearview mirror on this stuff. You go to Europe, terrific high-speed trains. You go to Japan, terrific high-speed trains. You go to Korea, now China, connecting every one of its provincial capitals with 225-mile-an-hour trains. That's China. And here we are, outside of the Northeast Corridor, putzing along at 80 miles an hour. I mean, this is kind of embarrassing.
So it's a matter of placing more funding into transportation.
And getting it done. I mean, you got to get this stuff done. We can't futz around for 10 years with this stuff because these other countries move, and they move rapidly. You know, the Chinese think nothing of putting 100,000 workers on one of these high-speed rail lines. They get it done in 12 months. We can barely do the planning in 12 months. So there ought to be a sense of urgency here, as well as funds and real leadership. We're getting that now from President Obama, but the states have got to be a part of this. Because, you know, it's really the states that build the infrastructure in this country. Even the interstate highway system wasn't built by the federal government. It was financed by the federal government. But it was the states that actually did the building.
Would you say communications between the states is doing more talking than acting?
No, but I'd like to see more leadership coming out of the governors. And frankly, if necessary, the president and the vice president got to pull the governors together and say, hey, look, folks, let's get cracking on this thing. I mean, we want to build a system. You folks are an essential part of it. Let's get on with it. Because in many, many cases, there were very few shovel-ready rail projects, even though the money was appropriated.
Any last thoughts about the upcoming elections?
Well, I certainly know what I'd like to see happen. We'll see what happens. I still have a difficult time understanding why the American people would vote to send people to Congress to do exactly what got us into this mess in the first place, which is where most Republicans are coming from these days. But we will see. Maybe we Democrats haven't done as effective a job as we should have done pointing that out, making it clear to people that, okay, the recovery isn't happening as fast as we would like, but at a minimum, the President of the Congress stopped the slide and reversed it and began doing something about it. And in fact, these first 21 months have been incredibly productive in terms of what the Congress has done in health care, financial regulation, the stimulus package itself, which no matter what its critics say, was responsible for either putting hundreds of thousands of people to work or saving hundreds of thousands of jobs. I mean, quite frankly, I shudder to think of what kind of shape the country would be in today if McCain and Palin had been elected. I think we'd have gone right over the cliff into another Great Depression. So that's my hope. We'll see.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Dukakis, for joining us.
Appreciate it.
For ATV Special Broadcast, I'm Nicole Pulley. Thanks for tuning in.